Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone here and call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 10th meeting of the City County Planning Board. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting is being broadcast live on TV 13 and will be rebroadcast at 10 a.m. Friday morning and again at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Our first order of business today will be the consent agenda. These are items for which the petitioner is requesting withdrawal or continuance, or items for which staff has recommended approval and no one has signed up to speak in opposition. For public hearings today, each side will have a total of 12 minutes. There will be no rebuttal period. Once the public hearing is closed and the board goes into work session, no one is permitted to speak unless a planning board member asks them a question. For general use district zoning requests, however, the planning board must consider the full range of uses allowed in the zoning district being requested. The petitioner may not refer to a specific use for the property. For special use district zoning requests, however, the petitioner must identify the intended use or uses of the site and give specific details on how the site will be developed. Items under Section B of the agenda will require final action by the appropriate elected body, either the city council or county commissioners. As such, votes taken today by the planning board concerning these items are recommendations that will be considered by the elected bodies during their review of the request. Before addressing the planning board, we will need your name, address, and zip code for the record. Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the September 12th and September 26th meetings. Is there a motion?
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Mr. Grubb and second by Mr. Stillman. This is going to be different. That's good.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous. I'm now going to call on Mr. Mark Allred to review the consent agenda, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So items B2, B5, and C2 have been automatically continued to the November the 14th, 2024 meeting. First up is item number B1. This is case W3634. This is the applicant is Lefevre Limited LLC. This is a rezoning from RS9 to agricultural limited use. It's 8.5 acres on the south side of Kernersville Road. You see the agricultural property right here that's zoned the agriculture property zoned right here. They are wanting to extend this use to this property neighboring to the west, and all around it to the northwest and south is RS9. The aerial has this as mostly wooded to the south side and with a single-family residential house and a manufactured home along Kernersville Road. The area plan map has this as single-family residential. All the uses being requested that is allowed are allowed in RS9 except the fish hatchery. With this request of expanding Forsyth County's agricultural enterprises, staff finds this request is consistent with the recommendations of the Southeast Suburban Area Plan Update and Legacy. Additionally, with the buffering and 100-foot building setback conditions offered by the petitioner, staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, the request in W3634.
Motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of W3634.
I have a motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous.
Next is item B4. This is case F1650. The applicant is Wake Forest University Health Sciences. This is called the Regional Medical Examiner's Facility. This is a rezoning from institutional public special use to institutional and public special use. It's 6.72 acres on the west side of Welfare Road, south of Log Cabin Road. To the west, you see the existing Regional Medical Examiner's Facility. To the north and east is owned RS9. To the south, this portion is also owned by Wake Forest University in Davidson County. Theirs is zoned O and I, office and institutional, and the rest of it around here is RA3, which is a Davidson County rezoning for one of their agricultural districts. So you can see from the aerial, most of this area is a wooded lot, is wooded area. There are developed sites to the west, to the south. You can see the access, which is in Davidson County. So this is the boundary line you see right through here. Southwest Suburban Area Plan Update recommends an institutional land use for the subject property. This reflects the current IPS zoning district. The proposed site plan shows an 18,273 square foot academic and biomedical research facility. There are 2 parking lots on each side. There's a buffer yard to the north and to the east. As you see here, the access road is in Davidson County. The request is in conformance with the area plan and site plan meet UDO requirements. Staff recommends approval.
Ms. Schwab, I think you need to be recused from this. Any objection? So without objection, you're fine. Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. No one has signed up in opposition. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board find the request in case F1650 is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of case F1650.
Motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous. Thank you. Schwab, you're back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Next is item C1. This is case PBR 2024-08. This is Kershaw Commons. This is an 83-lot PRD and RS9. It's 24.78 acres. What you see here currently, the western portion of the request is in Forsyth County. The applicant will be annexing the entire development into the city of Winston-Salem. The site plan you see here again is an 83-lot PRD. There is 4 public streets and public utilities. There is 2 active open spaces to the southwest and to the northwest portion of the property, a stormwater device to the west, and further to the west here is US 52. You can see here there's lots of environmental concerns that are to the north, the west, and to the south. That's the reason why this development can only be connected from Rink Road, so there was no other connection options. That's why you see this here. Site plan meets all other UDO requirements, and staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions for staff? All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board approve PBR 2024-08.
Motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, the board will now go back and we'll hold the public hearing for case B3, which is case F1648. And we'll hear from Ellie Lavina.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this is going to be case F1648. The petitioner is Perimeter Point Properties, LLC. The site is approximately 13.9 acres located at the southwest intersection of Rule Hall, Germantown Road, and McGee Road. The request is for a special use district rezoning from AG to LI special use. The site is located in GMA 5 rural area. The LI zoning to the north of the site was originally intended to serve the railroad and has existed since zoning went in effect in 1968. It has now since been abandoned. To the east, south, and west is AG and RS20 zoned property with existing single-family homes. The site is relatively flat and contains no streams or wetlands. The central portion of the site is cleared with the recently installed gravel parking areas, while the perimeter of the site is heavily wooded. The site is located within the Rural Hall Area Plan, which recommends large lot residential for this parcel. This is a photo looking north along McGee Road, looking west at the access point from McGee Road. Looking south into the subject property, you see some of the storage containers and existing outdoor storage. Looking west into the subject property. So this is the proposed site plan for F1648. The proposed site plan includes a single gated driveway access from McGee Road. It also features a 2,500 square foot multi-use office and storage building along with necessary parking. Additionally, the plan proposes 2.82 acres for outdoor storage. In addition, a stormwater pond is proposed for the northwest corner of the property. Lastly, to comply with the Type 3 buffer yard requirements, they are going to keep existing vegetation to utilize as a buffer against adjacent residential properties. Overall, the site plan does meet UDO requirements. In summary, the proposed use is anticipated to generate increased heavy vehicle traffic on area roads, generating adverse impacts upon adjoining properties. This request may also encourage the spread of inappropriate industrial encroachment in GMA 5. The request is inconsistent with the recommendations of both Legacy 2030 and the adopted area plan. And for these reasons, staff recommends denial. The site plan does meet UDO requirements. Does the board have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Levine?
You mentioned the parcel next to the railroad had been abandoned. Did you mean the parcel had been abandoned or the railroad right-of-way had been abandoned?
The railroad right-of-way has not been abandoned, the railroad has been abandoned.
Okay, gotcha.
So Norfolk Southern still owns,
Right.
they're the railroad, they're not going to get rid of it, but the tracks are no longer there, I don't
Gotcha.
believe.
Any additional questions?
No.
All right. Thank you. So we will have a public hearing on this. Again, each side will have 12 minutes. Proponents go first. We have to speak Mike Fox. Mr. Fox, if you will come and state your name, address, and zip code for the record, please.
There's your two PDFs right there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Michael Fox. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Tuckle Duggins. Our office is at 400 Belmead Street, Suite 800 in Greensboro, North Carolina. Thank you for having us. The best way I can describe this is we are trying to make an improvement to something that we could do, an important piece of information that I think that it helps for the board to understand. And I'm going to pull up a PDF here that sort of shows the general area. And the gray star in the middle is the parcel on which we're seeking rezoning. And you can see the other purple are some other general industrial zoning, and there's a solar farm over there, which is in ag, but it's typically considered an industrial use. What's really critical is that the parcel that you were just referring to on the road frontage that is north of the railroad line. That parcel is owned by my client, Mr. Fletcher. And when he purchased all of this together, he also owns, if you see the parcels that are sort of outlined in white to the right there, he owns all of those parcels as well. He is planning to build a home on the parcels to the right, one of the parcels, and live there. That will be his primary residence. And he has other employees and relatives who are also going to build homes on that site. So he is extremely sensitive and aware to residential development and, making this facility that he would like to propose a good neighbor. Just so you know kind of what they do, the company they provide traffic control for road construction projects in both North and South Carolina and install temporary and permanent signing like barricades, traffic cones, detour signs, traffic arrow boards, warning signs, traffic messaging boards, and safety equipment. So Winston-Salem and Forsyth County are blessed with having a lot of construction, highway construction these days, so I'm sure I'm sure you've all seen a number of these signs out there. And essentially, this is a place where these signs go when they're not being used. So that's the type of use it is. It's not a manufacturing warehouse or, a distribution warehouse where lots of trucks are going to be going in and out. So that's the use. It's going to be mostly outdoor storage, almost 3 acres, 2.82. And one 2,500 square foot multi-use office, maintenance, and storage building with 2 additional storage container structures. The site will be fenced with an opaque vinyl or wooden fence. Now, the really important fact is my client also owns the piece of property that is more of a triangle-shaped piece of property that's north of the railroad. And it's our understanding that he could today go and have this facility right there. It's appropriately zoned, already LI, and he could do that. But he didn't want to do that because he didn't feel like that it was appropriate for it to be right on the road. That's a much heavier trafficked road than the side road that he would be on. And so it'd be safer from a traffic perspective. Plus, as you know, that site is a little smaller and would not allow as much buffering as he would like to do. Essentially, his site will be screened almost exclusively by a thick vegetative buffer, an existing vegetative buffer. So he's trying to make, the best of this situation in terms of, having a facility that services the community that's fairly low traffic. It's not a 24/7 type operation with a lot of trucks in and out, and also is very well screened and has a nice vegetative buffer as well as the requirements of your ordinance to protect it and not have it up on the main road. I would suspect you would have a lot more complaints if it were up on the main road and folks, particularly anybody that was driving by or maybe homes that are across the street, were just looking right into that with the buffer that is, standard requirements. So he's trying to do an upgrade here and be able to move it further from the road, both for aesthetics and also for traffic safety. So that's our request. And Mr. Fletcher, who's the owner, is here if you'd like to ask him any questions, but I think I've covered it all unless you think you want to add anything, Chris. But he's here and would be happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for Mr. Fox?
I got a question. The manufacturing A was included in the uses. Is that something that's intentional, like for a specific part of what your operations would be?
Chris, I believe that might relate to putting some of the signage together. Is that right? Come on up, give your name and your address, please.
And your zip code, please.
Chris Fletcher, 126 Windermere Way, King, North Carolina, 27021. If you look at the photos that the young lady, I actually met her up there on the property when she took those pictures. We don't do any assembly there. Structures that are going up on like the Weber project over off 74, we may store those structures there, and when they go up on the job, we'll pick them up and take them there because they're so big. There's no production, no manufacturing, no day-to-day operation. Our day-to-day operation is at 4960 Indiana Avenue. There's no employees that report to this site. It's basically storage.
I think what she might be getting at is that something we need? Do we need that manufacturing?
Honestly, I'd like to keep it as more strict. This is going to be a storage lot for us.
And just because that use has more of a broader consideration of other things that might be allowed to come in other than what we're saying. So
I understand, but I think the reason we asked for that zoning was because the current zone on the front, little triangle piece, is that zoning. So all we're asking for is to do on the back side of that what we can already do on the road front.
And it may be more of a question for planning, because I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
If the manufacturing is A, because of the storage of the equipment, or just want to know some of the the thought behind that.
So basically, manufacturing A is assembly of pre-structured components. So again, things that are actually two or more things that are manufactured off-site, and you're really just assembling them. Like, for example, when Dell was here, if they were doing laptops and you had a motherboard and you were putting it in a case or something like that, that would be manufacturing A. And it sounds like the petitioner doesn't have any reason to need that use except for having some commonality with the general use LI that they already have on the other side of the tracks.
And I've spoken to my client, and if it makes the planning board more comfortable in considering approving this, we'd be happy to strike that particular use from our request.
I would approve it if you struck that.
Well, if I need to offer that as a amendment, I'm happy to do that, or I don't know if that needs to come from the board or not, but certainly the petitioner consents.
If you're willing to that, I believe the verbal acknowledgement of removing that use, and then we would, assuming this moves out of the planning board today to the elected officials, whenever our documents that go forward will have that use removed, if it's.
Perfect. Yes, we agree to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Any additional questions for Mr. Fox? All right, how
Thank
much
you
time
very
is left?
much.
You're welcome. How much time is left?
7 minutes.
So we have 7 minutes left. If anyone else would like to speak in favor of F-1648. All right. No one has signed up in opposition. Is anyone here wanting to speak in opposition? All right, seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. We've had conversation. Is anyone ready to offer a motion, or do we need more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board find that the request in case F-1648 is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
We have an inconsistent motion by Mr. Grubbs. Any questions? Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of case F-1648 with the proffered removal of the use manufacturing A.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose it, same sign. That is unanimous. That passes, striking manufacturing A. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next case we have on the agenda is going to be case B6, which will be a text amendment UDO CC 28, and we'll hear from Dan Roberts on that.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I am here to discuss proposed text amendment UDO CC 28, which will modify Chapter 4 of the UDO to amend provisions for single-family uses within residential multifamily districts. So this UDO proposed amendment is a work program item that arose from previous rezoning requests in which it was revealed that the single-family uses were subject to varying and at times more stringent standards than more intense residential multifamily uses. This amendment intends to improve logic and consistency for single-family uses, especially as maximum allowable density increases. The first change will be made to Table 4.5.18, minimum lot sizes in the residential multifamily districts, which will set the minimum lot size for single-family uses to 5,000 square feet across the board. So that will standardize the minimum lot size for each district. Here is an example of the changes that will be made. It's just the two for RM8 and for RM12 that will be changed. And as you can see, for the single family use, it will now be 5,000 across the board to make it consistent throughout. In addition to that change, a footnote will be added to each RM district section, the dimensional requirement table section that will instruct the user of the UDO to reference the RM5 dimensional table when considering a single-family use. In yellow here is the actual footnote that will be going in. So single-family uses within all RM districts shall meet the single-family dimensional requirements of Table 4.5.1, general dimensional requirements in the RM5 district. This amendment will rectify discrepancies, improve logic throughout the document, and make it easier to use for the user, as well as improve infill development opportunities by removing the need to rezone from RM to RS or to go through the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Any questions?
Yes, I have just one. Is there a minimum number of front feet of each lot that's 5,000 square feet or more?
Yeah, so as far as like the lot width, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that would all be covered in the RM5 table. So everything, we will not be changing that. We're only changing the minimum lot size overall, but there is.
It's 40 feet.
Okay,
Okay,
great, thank you.
yes.
Can you go to the next slide? I think there's something that says approval.
Yes, that one.
Just want to make sure y'all understand we already made approval of our text.
He just stopped on
We're
us.
just here to see what happens.
Drum roll.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Roberts? All right, thank you. So no one has signed up in opposition. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? All right, seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board find that the request in UDO CC 28 is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, I'm Mr. Grubbs, not Mr. Lamb.
Dang,
But
Mr. Grubbs.
nonetheless, Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board recommend approval of UDO CC 28. I'm Mr. Grubbs again.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Jason T. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr.
Jack
Stillman. Any questions? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That moves us to and I actually don't even have the agenda in front of me. I'm assuming the next thing on the agenda is staff report. Yeah, okay, just making sure. For that, first of all, I will turn to Kirk, who will give you a preview of your October work session.
All right. Well, Christmas is coming early since the board members have been so good. We're not going to have any work sessions in November and December. So with that in mind, we do have 2 items for the October work session. We're no pay docking, Jack.
Okay.
So with that in mind, 2 items are going to be on the October agenda. First is Karen Kessler, our GIS principal planner, actually gave a presentation at the state GIS conference a few weeks ago on opioid overdoses and trying to see if there's a geographic correlation with that in a way to help our peers in the public health space with kind of preventing or mitigating some of those situations. So we thought the board might find that interesting. It's very graphically heavy, so she's going to present that. We're also going to be having historic resources staff present UDO CC 29, which is a text amendment that will basically change some elements of our UDO related to statutory and procedural changes for historic resources. And that is it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman of the board, I will now turn to Brian Wilson, who will give you a preview of your your November zoning cases.
So we'll just continue with the good news. For right now, you've got 7 total items, 2 of which are continued rezonings, and actually one of the 3 planning board reviews is a continued case from today. 1 new final development plan, and then of course the text amendment that Kirk mentioned. And for those watching at home, this is just a reminder that if you want to apply for a historic marker, applications are due by the end of October, and you can find those applications on our website, cityofws.org/HRC. And that's what we've got.
Mr. Chairman, Board, the other item I had under staff report, Brian just covered, so I will not read that. I do want to do a couple things. I do want to mention the case that we did hear today on McGee and Rural Hall Germantown Road. That is one of those items where, again, we want to keep, that was a kind of a homegrown business. We want to keep them here, from a staff perspective. We love their business. They bought this piece of property without getting it rezoned and moved out there. So it was one of those things that doesn't really match the plan. It doesn't match our thoughts on what should be there. But at the end of the day, again, we hope that either that, I won't say I hope that gets approved, but we want them to stay here. So again, just wanted to make sure I did mention that. The other thing I did want to point out is Kyle Haney, who's the Deputy County Manager, is here. We are, being a city-county department, Kyle wanted to come and see how the planning board acts, see it in action. So I appreciate him being here today, and that's always good. That's our aim. So, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any additional items.
Mr. Haney, it's great meeting you. I've not had the pleasure to, would you like to introduce yourself to the board and to those in our community who may not have had the privilege yet?
Absolutely. And I know a couple members over here, but Kyle Haney, I'm Deputy County Manager. I've been so for like 2.5 months now and have not been fired. So feel pretty good about that. But I served as a Community and Economic Development Director for the county and been with them for about 11 years. So just excited to work with Chris in another capacity and work with the excellent planning staff, and anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Thank you, and congratulations for that. And
I would just like to add, I've had the great pleasure to work with him on other projects in days gone by, and I'll just say we are all very fortunate to have someone with his abilities. Thank you.
I second that.
Chris, I have one question. I had a citizen call me before I came. That's why I was a little late, and she was talking about the historic markers. And there's bird poop or something on one of the markers. She didn't tell me where. Her question was, who cleans the markers?
Rain.
The rain.
Rain. Yeah,
No formal.
There's not.
The bird's parents.
The rain.
Yeah, it's just like anything else. Again, if it is a persistent problem, I'm sure there is a way that can, that someone could go out there and do it. But just, most of those kind of things is just handled by Mother Nature over the course of time.
Thank you. I will relay that if I get the return call.
And if you do, and if she wants to speak to anyone, you could always refer her to me, and I will get her in touch with anyone that I feel like might be able to help.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order?
All right, we'll have our motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Motion by Mr. Lamb. Second.
I see what you did there.